Fine. Yesterday, what we were discussing? Can you recollect? Can you come on video? Please come on video so that I can interact directly with you. Yesterday, what we were discussing? The economic conditions. Economic conditions of Mahajanapadas. Camera not visible? Is it visible now? Am I visible to you now? Visible? Okay, all right. So we were discussing how Mahajanapadas evolved political economic centers. Now we need to see some more details about economic conditions, because this economic condition laid foundation for so many developments during Mahajanapada time period also, as well as in the later time period also. And in fact, if you observe these economic conditions, almost these economic conditions are going to continue for rest of history. Rest of history means including today also. The kind of economic activities evolved by this time was so intense that it laid foundation for so many political institutions, economic institutions, social institutions, and religious institutions. That is why, particularly for this time period, economy is very, very crucial. In UPSC also, yesterday I have given you one question, that economic conditions during 7th century to 3rd century BC. Let us continue from there onwards. What are the sources? Can you recollect? What are the sources to understand all this, whatever we are discussing? What are the sources for our understanding? What are the literary sources to understand these developments? Can you recollect? Sanju, Tarun, Bandana? Panini, Astadhyayi, very good. Buddhism, Jainism, Brahmanical, foreign accounts, right? Buddhist literature, Tripitaka, very good. Yesterday we have seen some arts and crafts. Today, let us continue different professions that evolved over a period of time. Write this. These economic activities Particularly, these economic activities are linked with urbanization. Urban characteristics. Can you recollect what are some of the important urban areas in the eastern part of India? In Bihar, if I ask you what are the urban centers in Mahajanapada time period? Rajagriha, Vaishali, two centers. Then if I ask you in Uttar Pradesh, many such centers are there, like Kaushambi is there, Shravasti is there, Madura, and in surrounding Delhi, Hastinapur, and in Madhya Pradesh, Ujjain. When it comes to northwestern part of India, Takshila. So these are some of the important urban centers. Now these urban centers are able to emerge due to various economic activities. These are crafts. So many crafts were there. And also corporate organizations called guilds. Corporate organizations. And second one, metallic money. We also call punchmark coins. Even today also, economy and urban areas are interlinked. And these crafts, guilds, metallic money, and so many professions. Due to these different professions, different people attracted towards the urban centers. Now you write these professions, so many professions. Let us talk this. Now this understanding is very important to understand why new unorthodox religions like Jainism and Buddhism evolved over a period of time. Now, professionals. So many professionals. Now you see, like, I will keep writing, you will understand this. For example, if you take physicians, surgeons, scribes, accountants, accounting, money lenders, this is one. When it comes to entertainment, entertainers, actors, dancers, musicians, and also magicians, acrobats, drummer, fortune tellers, now you see, even today also we see these activities in our Indian economy. Next one. When it comes to artisans, Vehicle maker. Ivory worker. Yesterday we have seen different artisan activities based on raw material. So you will find so many such people now. Metalsmiths, like goldsmith, silk weaver, carpenter, garland worker, potter. So these things. Right up to here. All of you written here up to here? Next one. Now you see how many people, how many activities, so many urban activities. And you can see different social interaction among these people. Naturally, the existing social ideas are also going to impact. That's why the model Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra is only in theory the four division of the society. But in fact, in practical purpose, so many dynamics are happening. And in fact, Vaishya and Shudra, you cannot rigidly classify who are Vaishyas and who are Shudras also. That is the kind of social dynamic is about to emerge now onwards. As a result of all these, instead of Vaishyas and Shudras, we are going to see new terminology also for this social dynamic, like Jati. There was no term called caste till the time Portuguese came to India. What is the century? In which century Portuguese people came to India? Any idea? In which century Portuguese people came and settled in the west coast of India? Who was the first Portuguese who discovered sea route to India? 1498, very good Sanju. Vasco da Gama. And after that, many Portuguese came and settled. They started giving the name caste, the term called casta. From there, caste, the terminology of the caste. But before that, in Indian literature and the terminology is jati. So this is the social dynamic and gradually it entered. When it comes to Brahmana, Kshatriya, the upper two varnas almost used for the common, in common day-to-day parlance also. But when it comes to Vaishya and Shudra, the last categories, we cannot even say that who are exactly this. So this is only theoretical model. The four varna system is theoretical. But in practice, there are so many social dynamics are happening in 6th century itself. It is not after that. In 6th century itself, we are in 600 BC to 300 BC. And this is going to be very, very important even to understand Mauryan period also, and also Ashoka Dhamma also. Under what circumstances Ashoka Dhamma is given. Now you see, in society, these sections of people are there. And new religious ideas are also emerging now. Buddhism, Jainism preaches something, Brahmanical texts are already preaching something, and conflict is about to emerge. Whenever there is a conflict, you will see in our history that some people will come to pacify the situation and to preach peace and coexistence among these people. And this Potter, now it is not the end. Now there are other people also. Next one. Quotations. Prostitutes. And when it comes to the administration level, like ministers, governors, policemen, jailers, when it comes to military, foot soldiers, archers, cavalry, elephant corps, chariot wing. So these are different wings, and in all these sections people are there. Chariot wing. On top of it, slaves, wage workers. Slaves are there, wage workers are there. Now you can see the social status. Some of these people like slaves, wage workers are going to be low status, coercion, prostitutes. And in different people, leather workers are there. So many economic activities are going on in the society around 600 BC to 300 BC. Now these are the various social characteristics. Now if you see these professions, you can almost use this for entire ancient, medieval, even today also, these things only. Whether it is Mauryan economy, use this template. Whether it is Mauryan economy, same. Post-Mauryan also, same. And some more new additions are going to come. Some more new terminology is going to come. But more or less is almost similar. Now you see this. These are the one. When it comes to Brahmanical literature, entire society is segregated into fourfold division. First status was given to Brahmanas, then Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. First, second, third, fourth. Brahmanical literature. But when it comes to Buddhist literature or Jaina literature, In these two, the first priority is given to, they did not completely discard the system. They continued it, but with more modifications, like here instead of Brahmanas are given second, Kshatriyas were given the first priority. And Vaishya, Shudra. And also, one difference is this is the priority. Another difference is when it comes to Buddhist literature, this was given religious sanctity. Religious sanctity. The meaning of religious sanctity means this division was created by none other than God. But when it comes to Buddhism and Jainism, they also accepted this, but they did not give the religious sanctity and they did not attribute it to the God's creation. But this is human creation. As the society progress according to the conditions of the people, humans created this one, not the God one. And as a result of this, when it comes to religious sanctity, the rigidity is more. And when it comes to human creation, people will not see this category as not a rigid one. And in fact, this is by 600 BCE. Even in the Brahmanical literature or during Rigvedic time period, this is not a rigid one. We have seen in the early Vedic time period. In early Vedic time period, it mentions only warriors, priestly class, and common people. And these common people will contain all the sections of the people. And by 600 BCE, this evolved, and due to Brahmanical, this all oral transmission only. Literature means you don't think that everything was written in 600 BC. It was the idea that was transmitted to the future generations through oral way. Same is the case now. This one existing idea when it comes to Brahmanical tradition, they did not completely discard it, but they did not give the sanctity like God's creation. It's a human agency. So it is human agency, and it can be changed based on the human activities accordingly. All right, up to here? Understood? Yes, as per both Varna, facilitated division of labor. And you have to think in Buddhism and Jainism, under what circumstances they are giving these ideals. Because in the existing social system, this rigidity is there, religious sanctity is there, and for each and every human activity, there is an associated ritual. And those rituals are also becoming complex, and it is becoming very difficult for the common people to follow every day. And on top of it, agriculture needs cattle wealth, and cattle wealth was decimated because of these continuous rituals. This is one aspect. Due to economy, you write one question here. Write this question. This is 2021 question only. The political and economic needs of rulers the political and economic needs of rulers combined with economic and status needs of economic and status needs of the merchant class the political and economic needs of rulers, comma, combined with economic and status needs of the merchant class, comma, together provided the receptive cultural milieu in which Buddhism flourished. Buddhism flourished. You write one more question because these economic activities are crucial in understanding Buddhism, the rise of Buddhism and Jainism also. Write one more question. Discuss the social. Discuss the social and economic factors discuss the social and economic factors for the rise of Buddhism. For the rise of Buddhism. And write one more question. What were the causes? What were the causes of the origin of heterodox sects in the 6th century BC? In the 6th century BC. All right, there are other causes also, but here economic angle, you understand how many people are there, how many professions are there. Because of these many professions, now social dynamics are going to change. They want different status, they have different economic needs, they have different social needs. So naturally, they are going to look for some more liberal approach to their lives. And in economy, we have to see one more topic, that is guilds. Give the heading, guilds. These guilds are so first I will explain, then you can note down. When it comes to Brahmanical literature, during this time period, Dharma Sutra, for example, there is one sutra called Gautama Dharma Sutra. According to this, Brahmana, Kshatriya, two upper layers, and when it comes to this third one, yes, Tarun, political, we'll go one by one. According to Gautama Dharma Sutra, the Vaishya, in early Vedic time period and later Vedic time period, there was a term called Vis. From Vis, Vaishya emerged. So initial meaning is common people. Later, gradually, when the economic activities, now we are seeing, just now we have seen, so many economic activities entered into the society. And these Vaishyas included agriculture people, cattle rearing people, in trading activities, money lending activities. Agriculture, cattle rearing, trading activities, money lending activities, and other artisan activities, industrial activities. And now, even in Dharma Sutra also says that these people have their own rules. Even king also listen to these rules. King also listen to these rules. King will have certain rules for entire kingdom. But whenever there is a dispute among these people, in front of the king, the rules of these particular professions also rise, and the king mostly follow these rules, according to Dharma Sutras. When it comes to Buddhist texts, different terminologies are also emerged, like Shreni, Nigama, Puga. So various like this terminology. These are called corporate organizations. Corporate organizations. These corporate organizations used to have certain sections of people of their own profession, and they used to have their own rules for them. This is Buddhist text. For example, Jataka mention 18 guilds. And these guilds used to donate money and also land whenever, whatever they have. They used to donate those wealth to the Buddhist Sanghas also. It mentions close connection between guilds and kings. In the modern time, how can you correlate this development? In 6th century BCE, we are saying there were guild organizations or corporate organizations, and there is close connection between these guilds and the kings. Suppose in the present context, how you can think means big corporates are there, politicians are there. In the present 21st century, in our terminology, rulers nothing but we don't have kings, queens now. We have democrats or parliamentarians. We have a different social system and different political system. Business activities are also going on. So it is the connection between politics and business. And this is throughout history, we are having this phenomena. Right from the 6th century BCE onwards, we have the references. Before 6th century BCE, we don't have these many references. And one advantage of in history for Mahajanapadas is we have many references. Buddhist text also giving information, Jaina text also giving information, then Brahmanical text also giving very good information. And on top of it, gradually we are going to see the foreign accounts also. And this is very, very important to understand this. Now we have these many professions, and all these professions are going to impact the social conditions also. In our history, optional, there is another question that this is the real society because our own indigenous sources are giving this much information. Foreigners, when they visit India, they will visit and they used to watch to certain extent, but they will not visit every part of the country. They cannot observe every socio-economic activity. There was a question that foreign accounts are definitely useful for reconstruction of India, Indian history. But we have to use these foreign accounts very carefully. Otherwise, whatever they listened from the others or whatever they are imagining, they used to write about Indian society. This is what Indian society from our own sources. But when it comes to foreign accounts, they will not give all these details and they used to give some imaginary accounts also. And it was the question asked in last few years ago that it is very important for the historians to understand or to differentiate between what is the actual description of Indian society and what was described in the foreign accounts. For that context also, that was question from Mauryan period also, you are going to see like Megasthenes account Indica. In Indica, he says, just one example, slavery was not there. In Megasthenes account, Indica says no slavery in India. And he also says Indians never lied. Likewise, they had their own prejudices and beliefs. Exactly. Very good. So they will have prejudices and they will not know entire Indian description, society description. But this is the society. Now you see by 600 BC itself, these many developments took place. Now you imagine by 300 BCE, how many more is going to come? By 1st century AD, how many such? By during Gupta time period, you are going to see so many other things also. That is why in 6th century BC itself, we should have clear idea that our society is already entering into a much mature, complex phase. All right, up to here, this is economy, and one more last one in economy. We will deal with coinage. Different professions we have seen, economic activities, then guilds. And guilds in post-Mauryan period, this is just a beginning. In post-Mauryan period, so many details will come. That time I will deal fully. Coinage. Pali text mention Kahapana, Nikka, different terminologies. When it comes to archaeology, we have the evidence from archaeology also. They are called punch-marked coins. Punch-marked coins. Mostly made up of silver, copper also. The metal coinage is revolutionary because it has changed the economic transactions, economic interaction itself. But it does not mean end of barter system. Barter system continued. Like even Harappan time period also, it is one of the success of Harappan people that without any metallic coinage, with through barter system, they could trade internally successfully and also with external world also. Then early Vedic time period, later Vedic time period also, the coinage, there is no specific coinage like this, but Nishka was the term used. Probably that is a jewelry kind of thing, but that was used as medium of exchange. But most of the society is barter only. I will give food, you give me artisan activities. So likewise, barter system is happening. In 6th century, Mahajanapada time period also, barter system was going on. At the same time, coinage, metal coinage was also is there. Now, impact of it, it has revolutionized, revolution in trade, changed the nature of economic transactions, money lending activities also came, and it has improved the economic activities. That is why you see so many professions. Earlier, society or the population was less. Yesterday, we have seen different population also. Now, more and more population is going to emerge. Now, different people have different professions. Among these professions, you should have some kind of mechanism to trade. Money lending activities for trading purpose and for doing business purpose, you need money for investment. And there are certain professions that those people were depending on money lending activities. As the society is progressing in this way, naturally you are going to see the religious beliefs and also social beliefs all are also going to about to change now. Brahmanical texts degrade this money lending activity. And naturally, those who are depending on money lending activity, they look for some other kind of religion, which give liberal status to them, which will not degrade their condition in the society. So this is how, before the emergence of new religion, you have to understand the existing society. That's why I am giving all these details. Right up to here. All right, up to here. Now you give the heading society. So this economic development is crucial to understand this society also. Varna system. So now you you just connect 1500 to 1000. Here we don't have Varna. Varna concept was utilized or used for just discriminating or not even discriminating, to differentiate between colors. When it comes to social, warrior, class, priests, and common people, I'll write Vis. And by 1000 to 600 BC, this is early Vedic. In later Vedic time period, Brahmana, Kshatriya, this Vis becomes Vaishya, Shudra. It became like this. Now, (600 to 300 BCE), it's going to become like this: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. On top of it, you are going to see one more terminology, that is Chandala. And by Gupta time, this is the beginning. By Gupta time period, this institution is going to become very rigid. Chandala. And this is how, with respect to Brahmanical tradition, when it comes to unorthodox or heterodox, they also recognize this fourfold, but Kshatriya first, Brahmana, Vaishya, and Shudra. Now we are going to see like this. This is Varna system. In our Indian history, there is one more term emerged, Jati system. And by modern time period, this Jati is used as caste or subcastes. And this is just now we have seen so many professions, so many economic activities. In our Indian society, you cannot clear-cutly, rigidly say that in fourfold Varna itself. And this Varna system mostly Varna applied for first two categories, like Brahmana and Kshatriya. When it comes to Jati, it applied for lower two Varnas. So first two Varnas here, and lower two Varnas, Vaishyas and Shudras. And later by 2nd century BC, nice Shatavahana time period, Gupta time period, post-Gupta, you are going to see so many jatis. Now by post-Mauryan time period, other people like Shakas, Kushanas, Parthians, Greeks, so many people are about to come to Indian subcontinent. Now whenever they come, it is very, very difficult to apply in this fourfold category alone. That's why you are going to see many mixture of these things. One result is, it is the result of inter-varna marriage. Intervarna marriage, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Gradually, you are going to see intervarna marriage. Whenever intervarna marriage emerges, a new lineage comes and a new type of jati emerges. That is why, in practical, Indian society is operating in a different way. But in theoretical model, Indian society was oversimplified just by giving fourfold division of entire Indian society. Yes. In this context, let us write one question here. In 2013, you write this question. The Varna concept, the Varna concept may always have been the Varna concept may always have been largely a theoretical model. The Varna concept may always have been largely a theoretical model and never an actual description of society. The Varna concept may always have been largely a theoretical model and never an actual description of society. Comment. In the context of ancient India. Are you getting this, students? I will give you 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes, you try to describe this? Just have some idea. This is the question. Just for 5 minutes, whatever you know, you try to write this. Now you have some idea about Indian society in 6th century itself. Now here you see this question, it is for entire India, entire ancient Indian history. In 6th century itself, if we are seeing this development, then by Mauryan time period what happens? By post-Mauryan what happens? By Guptas what happens? And by today what happens? So theoretically, fourfold Varna system, but actually in reality something else is happening in the Indian society. You just try to write whatever your understanding up to this period of time. 5 minutes, just exercise. All right, students, did you try? The answer to this question will keep on change. Now at the Mahajanapada time period, you may have some idea. After dealing with Mauryans, you will get some other idea. After post-Mauryan, your understanding is going to even refine. But whatever question come like this, always you keep thinking from early Vedic time period onwards. Always this timeline. Our society is going to evolve over a period of time. So this is how you need to see our Indian society. Even in our GS1, society is there. Whether women condition, urbanization, or any other communalism, everything you will have roots in our history. All right, shall I continue? In society itself, we will have few more things. We will write, then we will move on to the next topic. Shall I continue? Next, you mention in society, Varna is one element which we need to mention. Next one, Jati, we mentioned. Next element, Gotra. Gotra is something in later Vedic time period itself. It started like based on cattle pen. Because in early Vedic time period, pastoralism dominated. In later Vedic, pastoralism plus agriculture. But during this time period, Gotra emerged. And in Mahajanapada time period, this Gotra system continued. Gotra system continued. Every social institution, you are going to see the roots in Vedic period, and by Mahajanapada time period, it is going to be consolidated. This is Gotra. Now, when it comes to slavery, again, you are going to slavery. When it comes to early Vedic, Dasas, Dasyos, you are going to see. Then you are going to see this tradition continues, and here also slavery continue. Women and men. Mostly they were used for domestic purpose. So this tracking is very, very important. Because when Megasthenes says in Magadha time period, Mauryan time period, that no slavery in India, that means he was comparing Indian slavery system with the Greek slavery system. In Greeks, slaves were treated inhumanely, but when it comes to Indian slave system, the kind of treatment towards slaves is completely different. He felt that it is not at all a slavery. That's why he told that no slavery in India. But the concept to Indian culture, condition, the slavery is there. Dasa, Dasyus, then slaves, it continued. Dasa, Dasyu tradition continues in Mahajanapada time period also. Gotra system continued, slavery system continued. Here, wealthy land owners called Gahapatis. Gahapati. And next one, wealthy traders, Seti. Now you see, society is changing, wealth creation is changing, and accordingly, new social elements are also coming into Indian society. And this SETI is continuous. Even today also, we use this terminology. Gahapati. Seti. Next, another one, outcast or outside Varna system, Chandala. This institution also started by Gupta time period. It becomes severe. It becomes severe. Also, untouchables. Now you can imagine why the rise of Buddhism and Jainism were readily accepted by the people. You can see so many social dynamics. All right, here, up to here. Then, even when it comes to the treatment, it is going to change with respect to Shudras and Chandalas. For example, Chandalas, they are considered as completely pollutant, and even if someone looks Chandala, they have to be purified by taking bath, and also they were not even allowed in the villages. And if any Chandala is there, then even Brahmanical text says Vedas should not be recited if any Chandala is there in the village. So they almost equate Chandala with dead body. In one of the references says Vedas should not be recited if a dead body stays in village or if Chandala stays in village. So that is the kind of social degradation to this. And who are these Chandalas? There is no clarity that how these emerged. But in one of the references says, this is due to inter-varna marriage. Due to inter-varna marriage. Because Aryan, non-Aryan are those who are following Vedic text and those who are not following Vedic text. These continuous social elements are going on, and inter-varna marriages are also common. You have to see in this condition. Due to inter-varna marriage, different type of jatis or castes emerged. And you have to also see in the Indian society from the liberal perspective that Indian society is always open for this inter-varna marriage. you have to see in liberal angle also that even though theoretically the Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras are prescribing that fourfold Varna model, but actually society is more liberal, and in society in ground level, this interaction among various Varnas is very common theme since ancient times. Intervarna marriage, and those if male is Brahmana and if female, reverse. If female from Brahmana Varna and if male is from Shudra Varna, the children who are born out of this marriage are considered as Chandala. So this is how you see this. That means, in one way looking is, Brahmanical texts are degrading this kind of interaction, no doubt. But on the other hand, you have to see this kind of interaction is actually happening in the society. That is what this question also, that Varna concept may always have been largely a theoretical model and never an actual description of society. Comment in the context means you have to see in this angle. In Gupta time period also we are going to see Guptas belongs to Vaishya category, but they are going to marry Kshatriya princess. They are going to marry Naga princess also. And when it comes to Nagas, probably in Brahmanical text, Nagas were degraded. And now you see, to raise the legitimacy of Guptas, they had matrimonial relationship with other categories also. So actually in society, something else is happening, but Brahmanical texts are prescribing in a theoretical model. This has to be the social segregation. That is what, whenever social segregation is not strictly according to the fourfold Varna, Brahmanical texts or Puranas say that is the age of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga means those who are not following strictly, because they felt the Varna system is given by the God, people should follow exactly that. But actually society is following in a different way. And this is where, when new religious ideas in the form of Buddhism, Jainism came, more and more people started accepting these new ideas, because they are more liberal comparing with the existing ideas. This one, and family system, women's status, these are all going to continuously continue from the later Vedic time period. Yes, king practiced endogamy, even done intervarna marriage, and many of the kings came from humble origin. Yes, Tarun, very good. A poet said, yes, whatever you have written, it was in early Vedic time period. So in early Vedic time period, society was more liberal because of the tribal character, few population, almost all people used to stay in one place. Interactions are very close and very open. But as the society is becoming more and more complex, different sections of people are following different way of life. This is about society. And last point, in society, even when it comes to punishments also, Shudras and Chandalas many disabilities were imposed on them. Harsh punishments were given for the same crime done by two Varnas. If suppose a crime is there, a Shudra is committed the same crime and also Brahmana committed a crime. But for Brahmana, different type of punishment, and for Shudra, different type of punishment. And you see this inequality is called inequalities and injustice. That is what, when it comes to Indian Constitution, we treat all are equal. So equality. Our preamble itself highlights this equality. Even in French Revolution also, it is not only about Indian society, almost in other parts of the world also, these kind of privileges. So on one hand, if you see this, for the same crime, if Brahmana commits less punishment, Shudra more punishment. That means privileges by birth to one section in Indian society, disabilities by birth to other sections in society. That is why in French society also, this kind of privileges were there. French Revolution attacked these privileges. Attacked these privileges. So this is French Revolution. We are talking about French Revolution in 1789. But when it comes to Indian society, these disabilities and these privileges were attacked in a different way in the form of Buddhism, Jainism, Ajivaka, so many unorthodox sects. So that is why this 6th century period is also called the age of intellectual revolution in Indian context. The age of enlightenment, the age of intellectual revolution. And French Revolution also, what is the slogan? Equality, liberty, and fraternity. French Revolution, people attacked these same disabilities, and Indian Constitution also mentioned this. In 6th century, these things happened in modern India, but in 6th century itself, the age of intellectual revolution. And these new ideas attacked these same disabilities. So before coming to the Buddhism, Jainism, we have to understand really how our Indian society is actually functioning. And these people, many disabilities, harsh punishments, and they were not allowed in the administration. No administration. That is why in Indian Constitution we have given reservation. Reservation to SC and ST, because historically disabilities were imposed, and to come out of that disability, Indian Constitution provided this reservation. So that for after some certain decades, this reservation may not be required once society becomes more matured and more equal. But at this stage, these two sections require reservation is required, so that the historical disabilities, the historically imposed inequalities can be corrected through Indian Constitution. So we have to say this, our Indian polity is addressing the many historical problems also, and it is also for the future document. So our Indian polity, Indian Constitution, you have to see, it's a document which is correcting the mistakes of the historical past and also aiming for the glorious future. And these references are these articles, and these provisions are because of this kind of society. And we are in 6th century BC only. Now you imagine these kind of disabilities and inequalities are going to perpetuate for the rest of the society for thousands of years. And that is why whenever new religion comes, which opposes these disabilities, and people readily accepted those new ideas. For example, Indian Constitution, it's a more liberal document. People accepted it. If it is not liberal, if it is very rigid one, then Indians might not have accepted it. Similarly, in 6th century BCE, new religions, Jainism, Buddhism, Ajivaka, Charvaka, different types are there. Whenever people felt that is more liberal, they readily accepted it. All right, up to here? Is it clear? This is society. Many disabilities. Next one. What is happening at the political level? Politico administration. Politico administration. King. And when it comes to this, (1500 to 1000), Rajan, and Rajan was elected because the society was tribal in nature. But from 1000 to 600, this is early Vedic, later Vedic. In later Vedic period, now king, Rajan. Here, Jana was important. By this time period, Janapada, territory became important. Now we are talking after 600, Mahajanapada. Jana important, not the territory. But by 1000 to 600, territory is important. Now people, the rulers started expanding their territories and they are called Mahajanapadas. And here, elected, but here, hereditary. And naturally, it is going to become strong, hereditary, law of succession. Law of succession, who will be the successor? That is law of primogeniture in general. But it is not going to be smooth one. Violent battles used to take place. In later Vedic time period itself, we have seen this law of succession. Law of primogeniture was not accepted by the brother of Yudhishthir. That's why Mahabharata war took place. In Mahajanapada time period also, we are going to see similar kind. And in Mauryan time period also, if we believe Buddhist text, Ashoka killed his own brothers for the sake of throne. So that's why, even though the accepted is law of primogeniture, eldest son. Law of primogeniture means eldest son. Eldest son as successor. But sometime it is not going to be smooth one. King. Next, when it comes to officials, ministers, commander, judge, chief accountant, so many officers are going to come by this time period. And these officials we call with one name, Mahamatras. Mantrins. Mahamatras, Mantrins. When it comes to salary, punch-marked coins were also given, and at the same time, grants also given. Grants of revenue also started. Next, at village level, Gramani was the head. Gramani. Different names were there. Grama Bojaka, Gramika. All these are related to the head of the village. Army was also maintained. When it comes to army, foot soldiers, cavalry, elephants, elephant corps, chariot, chariot wing, next one, taxation. Now by this time taxation is going to be compulsory. Do you remember what is the tax collected by early Vedic Rajan? Do you remember? During early Vedic time period, what is the tax collected by Rajan? Bali. Now Bali is going to be compulsory one. Now no more voluntary. It is going to be continuous because continuous wars are going to take place. Kings are continuously in expansion mode. They need treasury, strong treasury also. Taxation, Bali, no more, voluntary, land revenue as the major source. In general, 1/6 of produce was collected as the tax. But sometimes it will vary and different references. Buddhist text, different references. Brahmanical text also giving different references. In some places like 1/8, in some cases 1/10 also, depending on different, it might be different kingdoms, different circumstances also. Because whenever there is a drought, whenever there is a famine, naturally king used to give remission and people need to just not require 1/6 not required, just 1/10 is enough. And this is what exactly when it comes to British time period, we are going to see different peasant movements like Bardoli Satyagraha, for example. When it comes to this Keda Satyagraha, Bardoli movement, one of the demands of the peasants were to reduce the taxation during difficult times. And this is what you need to distinguish or compare between British time period and Indian rulers. No doubt Indian rulers also exploited the peasants. British also exploited the peasant. But whenever there is requirement, whenever people are suffering, Indian rulers showed the concern, they reduced the tax demand. But when it comes to British, they were not ready to reduce the demand. So that shows the alien character this shows the Indian character. These are the things which Indian freedom fighters showed. That always Britishers used to say that Indian rulers were very despotic in nature. They exploited the peasants, despotic in nature. These kind of ideologies they perpetuated. And after some time, Indian freedom fighters also started attacking that the most cruel despot of Indian is far better than more enlightened foreign ruler. Gandhiji used to say that you British are more enlightened, no doubt, but what you are doing to the peasants, exploiting, and you are exploiting more cruel manner than the most despotic ruler of Indian nature. And here, whatever produced, accepted, or taken by the people, again it is going to come in the form of different. We have seen in later Vedic time period, ritual is a social exchange. Ritual is a social exchange. So king accepts. King takes the tax from the people. And king performs some kind of rituals. And again going back to the people. This is what Indians attacked the British during that time period. King exploiting, no doubt, but again, whatever he or queen spend, again coming to the people only. It is not going out of the Indian boundaries. But when it comes to British, they are taking from Indian and they are taking it to the London. So this is what drain of wealth. And when it comes to the previous rulers, they took the taxes and they spent in this land only. And no doubt inequalities are there. Some people got more money, some people got less money. But anyway, all are Indians only. But when it comes to British, everyone exploited and the amount was taken to the other country. So this is what drain of wealth theory and how Indian rulers or Indian freedom fighters also attacked by showing these elements. So they used to say that we are enlightened people, we came here to save you. And our Indians used to say that what is the difference between you and the most cruel Indian despots? At least Indian despots, they are taking, exploiting, but again coming to the Indians only in a different form. But when it comes to you, you are taking everything from out of India. That's why there was even one quotation also. This is like a rain. Taxation is like moisture. Like clouds. King like cloud, you think. Cloud takes the moisture, and when rain comes, that rain falls within India only. But when it comes to British, our Indian historians or the freedom fighters, they attacked in this way. When it comes to British taxation, they are sucking the moisture from Gangetic Valley, but rain is not happening in Gangetic Valley, but happening in London on River Thames. So, moisture of Gangetic Valley, but rainfall near the Thames. Thames River is there in London on Thames, on the banks of Thames. So this is how taxation was considered like a moisture. In this way, Indians and British administration was compared. This particular point, 1/8 or 1/10 or 1/6, it depends on the kind of difficult times. If produce is good, more tax. If produce is less, tax remission. Bali, land revenue is the major source. Next, when it comes to assemblies, and by this time, Sabha, Samiti, Vidata, they are all almost completely discarded. Now, if we go by this, 1,500, 1,000. Sabha was there. Samiti was there. Vidata, Gana, different were there. But now they are discarded by 600 BC. Sabha, Samiti continued. They discarded, even their power also reduced. Power reduced, and these institutions discarded. Now by 300, now these also discarded. That is why during British time period, democracy, India was not a democratic country. When that charge was laid on Indians, we Indians wanted to go back to Vedic time period. Early Vedic, because it is democratic. So Indians were not saying that go back to Mahajanapada time period. They were saying go back to Vedas, because at this time, more democratic in nature. 600 to 300, completely discarded assemblies, because this time monarchy is more powerful. Monarchy more powerful. But republics were also there. Assemblies, is it clear up to here? Next we need to see republican. You write here, monarchy is more powerful. Republics existed. But these republics are not purely democratic in nature. So this is where, when Britishers were saying that we don't know the concept of republic nature, our freedom fighters used to bring back these institutions only. Because Buddhism and Jaina text, both Buddha and Mahavira, Buddha and Mahavira, they both belong to republics. They both belong to republic states. Sakya Republic when it comes to Buddha, when it comes to Vajji Confederacy. Mahavira. Both, exactly, they were more oligarchies. Monarchy means a single ruler. Oligarchy means multiple rulers. And they used to share the tax. When it comes to monarchy, single ruler get any entire tax. When it comes to oligarchy, more rulers will get the tax and they enjoy the tax. But republics were there. This is how these republics are not purely in the democratic in the modern sense. But comparing with the monarchies of that time, they were more open in nature. And gradually these republics are also going to decline when monarchy becomes more and more powerful institution. So these republics, tomorrow I will continue just a few minutes only, because now this republic and Buddhism, the rise of Buddhism and Jainism, we are going to see that. Tomorrow we will continue with religious aspect. Now up to now, economic aspect, social aspect, and political aspect we have seen. Tomorrow we are going to see the religious aspect. Up to now, I have given you questions also, how questions are coming. Tomorrow, religious angle questions I will give you, and I will explain from there onwards. And there itself, we will see the nature of republics also. Yeah, all right? Up to here? All right. Tomorrow, we will meet. Any questions?